Welcome, everyone. You've tuned into the Deep Dive.
Hello.
This is where we take really fascinating source material, uh, explore it deeply, and pull out the key knowledge, the insights, especially for you, our listener.
Exactly.
Today, we're doing a really detailed question-by-question walkthrough of Session 64 from the Law of One Material.
A really rich session, this one.
It absolutely is. Our mission really is to unpack the wisdom that's packed into this specific session, hopefully giving you a richer, deeper understanding of all its different facets.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
It's dense stuff, no doubt, but we're going to explore it together, aiming for clarity, making it engaging, insightful, and always, keeping that positive, interconnected vibe that really defines this source.
Namaste.
Namaste. I am you, you are me. And looking at it question by question like we're doing really lets you appreciate how the concepts weave together. It's more than just answers. It's the principles underneath that matter for you.
Okay, great point. Let's dive right in then. Question 64.1. It asks about the condition of the instrument, Carla.
And Rath's response is, as previously stated, with the exception of a transitory distortion lessening the free flow of vital energy. What jumps out at you there?
Well, first, it's that consistency again, right? They always start with the instrument's well-being. It shows how vital that physical connection is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then there's this new piece, the transitory distortion. So something temporary affecting the energy flow. For you listening, it just shows that even these contacts aren't like static. There are subtle shifts.
Right. And that leads perfectly into 64.2, where Don asks basically, what is this distortion?
And Ra's answer is super brief.
Yeah, this is marginal information.
Mm.
Why do you think they'd call it marginal? It seems important if it's affecting the flow.
That's a really good question. Perhaps in the grand scheme of the philosophical truths they're trying to convey to you, the specific nature of this temporary physical issue wasn't, central. Maybe it risked being a distraction from the bigger picture.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Keeping the focus on the core teachings. Okay, 64.3. Here, the questioner, Don, acknowledges they might have made a mistake in the last session about the number of wanderers,
A correction.
and Ra confirms it, saying, you and Ra made an error. The appropriate number of your ciphers is one less than previously stated. What does this tell us?
Well, it speaks volumes about integrity, doesn't it? The willingness from both sides to say, oops, we got that wrong, let's fix it. Even on a small numerical detail, the ciphers just meaning the numbers.
Yeah.
For you, it just reinforces the sense that they're really trying for accuracy. It's not about being infallible, it's about being truthful.
Absolutely. Precision matters.
Mm.
Okay, question 64.4 gets quite involved. Don asks about the basic principles behind their ritual for contact and also general white magical rituals, like for protection.
Right, the underlying mechanics.
And Ra connects this directly back to that transitory distortion in the instrument we just talked about. They say it stems from a bias towards the yearning for expression of devotion to the one creator in group worship. That's quite a link. Can you unpack that for us, for the listener?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Ross basically saying Carla's temporary energy dip is, in a way, fueled by this deep-seated human or perhaps soul-level desire for communal spiritual expression.
Okay.
Consciously, Ross says, this shows up as responding to things like ritual elements, colors, even church music or distortions, shared prayers, and what they call Holy Communion, which they frame as metaphysical nourishment.
Metaphysical nourishment. I like that.
And subconsciously, there's this awareness that expressing devotion together, especially when you see it as connecting to the Creator, offers really powerful protection on the path of service. So for you, it means our inner spiritual desires actually have like tangible energy effects.
Wow. So the instrument state reflects this universal yearning. And then Ra gives a broader definition for the principle behind white magical rituals. What's a core idea there for you?
If we boil it down for you, Ross says white magic is essentially about consciously using stimuli symbols, words, actions to generate focused, disciplined, and crucially purified emotion, specifically love.
Love is the key ingredient.
Exactly. That focused love energy then serves a dual purpose. It's protection, a shield, but it's also the key that opens the gateway to intelligent infinity, their term for universal consciousness. So for you, the takeaway is that magic, in this sense, is really about learning to consciously wield the power of your own focused, loving intention.
That's a really empowering way to look at it. Okay, 64.5 then asks about a specific incident, a light error in their ritual a couple of sessions back that apparently allowed an Orion-affiliated entity to briefly interfere.
Yes, the intrusion.
Ra calls their contact narrowband with precise preconditions. and compares the Orion entity to a skilled swordsman.
Mm.
What does that imagery tell you about this communication channel?
It paints a really vivid picture, doesn't it? Narrow band suggests it's a very specific frequency needing careful alignment, like tuning an old radio perfectly.
Hmm.
And the swordsman comparison highlights the skill and potentially disruptive power that negatively oriented forces can have. Raw stresses the great intensity involved, flowing through a channel of the instrument that's as delicate as a snowflake.
Wow.
So for you, it underscores that even tiny lapses in focus or procedure within this finely tuned energy field can create an opening. It really emphasizes the need for discipline and care in any kind of focused energy work.
It really does. That precision seems paramount. And it's also good that Roe mentions they paused the contact to check Carla's safe light configuration before even addressing the intrusion. Instrument safety first.
Absolutely. That demonstrates a profound level of care and responsibility. For you, it reinforces that compassion and safeguarding the channel or yourself in your own practices are fundamental. Love and care first.
Okay, moving on. Question 64.6 shifts towards Ray's own practices. Don asks about rituals or techniques Ray uses or used in seeking their direction of service.
A big question, asking about sixth density practices.
Right. And Ray prefaces their answer with caution, noting the difficulty of talking across densities without misprision of plain communication, basically, misunderstandings.
Yeah, the potential for distortion is high.
But they do try to answer. What are the key takeaways here for you?
What's really mind-bending here is Ray's description of their state. They talk about the total unity of creation and seeking the creator directly, experientially, in a way that's beyond our third density concepts. They don't just use light, they have become light.
Become light.
Their fundamental understanding is there's no other material except light, so their rituals aren't like ours. They're described as an infinitely subtle continuation of the balancing processes. We start here in third density. For you, it offers a glimpse into a reality where separation dissolves, and seeking is an internal state of being, not an external action.
So less about doing specific things and more about being a certain way.
Exactly that. Ross says they seek without polarity. They're not trying to invoke power from somewhere. They're internalizing the search as they are light love and love light. The balance they seek is between compassion and wisdom, constantly refining their understanding to merge with the one.
Which contrasts with our rituals, often focused on specific outcomes or invoking specific energies, often polarized.
Right. Our third density rituals inherently contain polarity. Theirs is about transcending it. For you, it's an invitation to reflect. Is your own seeking about external goals or about cultivating that internal state of unity?
That's a really deep point. Then, question 64.7, Don asks if Ra could describe the techniques they used back when they were in third density to evolve.
Uh-oh. You can guess the answer here.
Yep. Ra says simply, this query lies beyond the law of confusion. What's the key aspect of the law of confusion this highlights for you?
It's all about free will, isn't it? The law of confusion, or free will, is central. By saying this, Ra is protecting our unique path. Giving specific instructions on how Ra did it could unduly influence our choices, kind of like giving away the answers to the test.
Right. It bypasses our own discovery process.
Exactly. For you, it's a strong reminder that your journey is yours alone. Copying someone else's path, even Ra's, might not be what serves your specific learning needs. Your unique experiences are the curriculum.
That makes perfect sense. And 64.8 follows logically, asking about Ra's fourth density experience.
Same principle applies.
Yes. Ra confirms this is also beyond the law of confusion, but they add something really important here. They say, Ra is not elite. Why is that statement so significant for you?
Oh, it's crucial. It completely dismantles any temptation to put Ra on some kind of untouchable pedestal. By saying we're not elite, they're stressing that hierarchy isn't the point. They emphasize that their own journey, even in the more harmonious fourth density, still involve the same fundamental catalysts, joys, sorrows that we experience. The core message for you is that the potential for growth, for harvest, is within all beings. It's a shared dance, this third density experience. No one group is inherently superior.
The very humbling and unifying message. Okay. Question 64.9 shifts to something more concrete. Records possibly hidden near or under the Great Pyramid. Don asks if looking for them would be beneficial.
And Ra gets, as they put it, shy of information again.
Yes, citing that same potential infringement on free will. Why such caution around this specific topic, do you think?
Well, the pyramid is such a potent symbol, energetically loaded, historically mysterious. Finding records there, that would be huge. Could massively shift beliefs, history, everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So giving specifics on location or content could basically short-circuit humanity's own process of discovery and interpretation. It could dictate belief rather than allowing free exploration. For you, it just shows how seriously Ra takes non-interference, even with potentially world-changing knowledge. The journey of finding out is key.
Their consistency on that principle is remarkable. All right, question 64.2 changes tack again, asking Ra to elaborate on the 18-day cycles for the adept, which they'd previously called the gateway of magic. This is pretty fascinating stuff. Can you break down this cycle for the listener?
Absolutely. This is quite practical in a way. Ra explains that when we're born into this illusion, we come under various influences, lunar, planetary, cosmic, even karmic patterns. That moment of birth kicks off these cycles.
Okay.
The 18-day cycle, specifically the spiritual or adept cycle, works like a sine wave energy ebbs and flows, affecting our ability for spiritual work. Ra says the first 9 days are generally better, with days 4, 5, and 6 being especially potent, assuming you don't have full conscious mastery over these energies yet.
So a kind of bio-spiritual rhythm.
Pretty much. For you listening, it suggests there are natural tides that can affect your energy and spiritual receptivity through the month. Worth paying attention to.
Interesting. But Ra also calls the transition points the most interesting portion. Why are those specific times so critical for you?
Good catch. The shifts, day 9 to 10 and day 18 back to day 1, are highlighted as potentially tricky. Ra suggests these are times of greater energetic instability, maybe vulnerability, especially if other personal cycles are also shifting then.
So potentially bumpy transitions.
Yeah. While the lowest point of the cycle might mean less raw power, these transition points seem to represent moments where things are more in flux, requiring more conscious grounding. For you, it's about awareness, noticing your own energy shifts.
Like navigating energetic rapids, perhaps.
Yeah.
Question 64.11 asked about pinpointing these cycles using the exact time of birth. Ross says that's mostly correct, but adds that just knowing the day of birth, the diurnal cycle, is usually enough for most workings. What's the practical takeaway there for you?
It makes it more accessible, right? While the exact minute might initiate the cycle with ultimate precision, Ross saying that for most practical purposes, just knowing the day you were born gives you enough of a handle on the rhythm. You don't necessarily need, like, a super detailed astrological chart minute by minute to start working with this general ebb and flow. For you, it means you can start observing this pattern without needing complex calculations.
Okay, that's helpful. Question 64.12 follows up. Would magic performed at these opportune times be more successful?
And Ra confirms the cycle is a helpful tool, but then they add a crucial qualifier.
Yeah.
As the adept becomes more balanced internally, their effectiveness becomes less dependent on these cycles.
Ah, so the reliance fades with growth.
Exactly. The cycles are like training wheels, maybe, a guide to understanding energy flow. But the ultimate goal for the adept is to cultivate such strong inner balance and connection that their ability to work with energy comes from within, regardless of the external cosmic weather, so to speak. For you, it encourages focusing on inner development as the real source of spiritual effectiveness.
The power comes from within, not just from timing. Question 64.13 pushes this. Don asks, what level of adeptness makes you independent of cycles?
And Ra kind of sidesteps again, not wanting to judge the group's progress.
Right, but they offer an analogy. What insight does that give you?
They suggest thinking about this 18-day cycle, like you might think about astrological influences. Interesting, but not critical.
Interesting, but not critical.
Okay, which implies that while these rhythms offer useful information, maybe even slight advantages if you align with them, they aren't the be-all and end-all. True spiritual strength comes from that inner work, love, wisdom, balance, not just from catching the right wave. For you, it again points back to focusing on your internal state as the key.
Very liberating, yeah. Okay, pole shift in topic for 64.12. Don brings up recent research suggesting humans might have a natural 25-hour sleep cycle.
Right, the circadian rhythm question.
And Ross says, yes, this is correct in some cases. And they attribute it to Mars. Specifically, planetary energy influences linked to memories from Martian consciousness, noting that Martian genetics contributed to Earth bodies. That's unexpected.
Isn't it just, it's one of those moments that really broadens the scope. It suggests our very biology, our daily rhythms, might hold echoes from other worlds, other consciousnesses woven into our genetic heritage.
Oh.
For you, it just opens up this idea that we're potentially influenced by far more than just Earth's sun and moon. There's a cosmic backstory potentially playing out even in our sleep patterns.
Truly mind-expanding. Okay, 64.15 tackles a big one. The overall value of modern medicine, allopathy, and dealing with illness, considering things like karma, life purpose, etc. Ra calls the question convoluted,
Understandably so, it's complex.
but they offer some observations. What are the main points that stand out for you?
Ra gives a really balanced view, I think. They acknowledge the service orientation of many healers. Their desire to alleviate suffering is valuable, especially if it extends someone's life, giving them more time for learning, for catalysts.
Okay, that's the positive.
Yes, but they also gently critique the common allopathic view of the body as just a machine. They note a societal tendency towards distraction and avoiding deeper self-awareness. Ra suggests this mechanistic view, focusing on controlling symptoms with strong chemicals, can sometimes hide the underlying imbalance and maybe even hinder the learning the distortion is meant to offer.
Suppressing the message, perhaps?
Maybe. But they also acknowledge a positive trend, a growing awareness of other, perhaps more holistic or efficacious healing approaches beyond just the allopathic. For you, it encourages a discerning approach. Appreciate medicine's ability to help, but also stay open to understanding the deeper reasons for imbalance and exploring various paths to well-being.
Integrate with awareness. Makes sense. Question 64.16 presents a specific choice. Should someone use medical help or choose to experience the catalyst, the lesson, of a bodily problem?
A classic dilemma.
And Ra's guidance depends on the person's polarization. Can you explain that for you, the listener?
Right, it comes back to core intention. If you're primarily oriented to serving others, positive polarization, Ra suggests you analyze which path, getting treatment or experiencing the illness, offers the most opportunity for you to be of service. Maybe healing quickly lets you serve more.
Okay.
If you're negatively polarized, service to self, the consideration is essentially the opposite, what best serves your control or personal gain. And if you're unpolarized, the choice might be more random, probably leaning towards whatever brings immediate comfort. For you, it shows how your fundamental life orientation can act as a compass, guiding even complex health decisions based on what aligns with your chosen path.
Our deepest alignment shapes our choices.
Fascinating.
Okay, now for something really out there. Question 64.17 and 18 are about a four-toed Bigfoot cast someone brought.
Yeah, Dr. Monroe apparently brought it.
Or confirms they can identify it. And their identification, one of a small group of thought forms?
Wow.
Just thought forms.
Right, not a biological creature in the way we usually think. What does that imply for you?
Well, it radically reframes things. It suggests that some phenomena we perceive as solid and physical might actually be projections, manifestations, created and sustained by collective or powerful individual thought energy.
Consciousness creating reality, quite literally.
Exactly. For you, it's a nudge to consider that reality might be way more fluid, more mind-dependent than our conventional science usually admits. Maybe some cryptids are less biology, more psychology or metaphysics made manifest.
Definitely challenges assumptions. And 64.19 follows up. Why haven't any Bigfoot remains been found? This was apparently Dr. Monroe's question, too. Ra suggests looking in caves under some western coastal mountains, but adds this really intriguing caveat. Even if found, the remains might not be generally understood if our current culture continues as it is. What do you make of that? That's the kicker, isn't it? It implies that our current scientific framework, our worldview, might be fundamentally incapable of recognizing or interpreting such evidence correctly, even if we literally dug it up.
We wouldn't know what we were looking at.
Or we'd misinterpret it based on our existing biases. It suggests our understanding of life, consciousness, maybe even biology itself, might need to evolve significantly before such discoveries could be truly integrated. For you, it's a lesson in intellectual humility and the limits of current paradigms. Keep an open mind.
A truly thought-provoking idea. Okay, nearly there. Question 64.20 circles back to healing. Don wants clarification on what kind of sensations to examine in healing exercises. Is it just the five senses, bodily functions, or something else?
Good clarifying question.
Ray explains you should consider the body's current sensations, noting most are fleeting, unimportant. But some sensations carry weight because the mind gives them power or charge. The key is sensations that leave an aftertaste of meaning, or a taste within the memory. How can you apply that?
Ra's pointing to the significance we attach to sensations. They use the example of the questioner's discomfort during the session. It has meaning because it's endured for service. The important sensations aren't just any twins or feeling. They're the ones that resonate somehow, that linger in your awareness, connected to a thought, an emotion, a realization.
The ones that feel significant.
Yes. For you, it's an invitation to practice deeper somatic awareness, tuning into not just the raw data of physical feeling, but noticing which sensations seem to carry a message, an insight, that aftertaste of meaning. Those are the clues for healing and self-understanding.
Tuning into the body's wisdom, essentially. Okay, last question, 64.21. Don asks if they could do anything more to improve the instrument's comfort or the contact itself.
Always looking to refine the process.
Russ' advice is brief. Continue to consider the alignments. They acknowledge the group is already mindful of Carla's physical issues, like her hands, and then the final sentence.
As always, love is the greatest protection. Powerful closing.
It really is. What final thoughts does that leave you with, wrapping up the session?
It brings it all back home, doesn't it? After all the complexities of cycles, densities, thought forms, the core message remains simple and profound. Alignment, physical, mental, spiritual, and love are paramount. For you, it's a beautiful reminder that underpinning all spiritual practice, all seeking, is the foundational power of love as connection, as protection, as the goal itself.
Wow. Yeah. What an incredibly rich session that was.
Yeah.
Taking this deep dive into session 64 really highlights how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? From ritual mechanics to cosmic cycles to, well, Bigfoot thought forms.
It all ties together.
It really does seem to, all pointing back to these core principles.
Yeah.
Service, free will, the illusion of separation, and that pervasive power of love and light. I really hope this detailed exploration has given you, our listener, some valuable insights. Maybe a few of those aha moments.
So too.
And perhaps, reflecting on this session, here's a thought to leave you with. What about those sensations that leave an aftertaste of meaning in your own life? What happens if you start paying closer attention to those subtle physical or emotional cues? What deeper understanding or guidance might they offer you on your unique path?
A wonderful reflection.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Until we explore together again, may you journey in love and light.
Go forth then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite creator, Adonai.